Hi, guys. I am back today with a super inspiring guest. Her name is Shannan. And I met Shannan in person about a week ago at an event in Miami with Kathleen Cameron's Inner Circle program. And we started chatting in the lobby, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, your story is amazing. We have to share it with the world." And she has just a really powerful message. So thank you so much, Shannan, for coming on to my podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's an honor. And from where I was to where I am now, when I look at my journey and my story, if I can get it out and if it just helps one person, then I'm accomplishing my life purpose because I know that I truly am here to do God's work. So I thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, that touched me. Yes, I agree. If it just helps one person out there. But you know what? Your story is so powerful. I know it's going to help a lot of people. So let's dive right in. If you don't mind, take us back a few years to tell us what happened to you, and then up to current day.
Sure, absolutely. My story actually starts even before I was born because I come from a family of addiction, mental illness, and abuse. And I am the youngest of 8 children, and I also have a half brother. So
Wow.
my father was extremely abusive. He was a full-fledged alcoholic. And as the years passed by, too, when you have an addiction, mental illness definitely plays a huge role in all of that. So my father ended up committing suicide when I was about 2.5 years old. So I really don't recall much memories about him. There's only one that I do have. And that's when he's holding me. He's carrying me. And all I can really remember is his big white cowboy hat and his strong arms. And that's really about it. And from, talks throughout the years, I am very blessed that I did not know my father. But what ended up happening is I got abused by my oldest brother.
Oh,
So he actually carried on the family tradition because my father abused my oldest brother the most, and actually my mother as well too.
wow.
So growing up, I grew up in a very low vibration household. There was lots of abuse from my brother. Growing up, I was always told I was dumb, I was stupid, I was never going to amount to anything. I was a piece of crap. As I got older in my teenage years, really bad names. If you can imagine, I was called the S word, I was called the B word, I was named all of it, right?
That's
And
terrible.
that was my normal for me. And just even walking by my brother, he'd smack me upside the head, push me up against the wall, and then he would just laugh. I'm 55 years old,
Mm.
and growing up, there wasn't a lot of toys back then. And I had dolls and I had Barbies, and I didn't have a lot. Maybe 2 Barbies and 1 doll or whatever it was. And he would take the Barbies or the doll from me, and he would rip the limbs off and the head. And then he would take a pen. It wasn't a pencil. He would take a pen and he would write genitals all over. Like write nasty, like put nasty stuff like penises and stuff like that all over these dolls. So it wasn't like I couldn't even, wash them off. So then
Yeah.
they were ruined. And then he would just laugh. Like, this is the mentality of this guy. I
Yeah.
would, be eating an ice cream cone, and if you can imagine a 5-year-old, or a 4-year-old sitting there and eating an ice cream cone,
Yeah.
and then him walking by and just smushing it in your face and then thinking it was funny.
Um,
This is what I grew up with.
yeah.
And I look back, in my teenage years, and this was the identity that I had carried. So if you know anything about vibration, I was in the lowest, darkest vibration. So
Hmm.
I was living with anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
So what does that make in your life?
Hmm.
You become that. You attract all of that into your life.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
growing up, I did become a people pleaser. I became a chameleon. I did whatever I could do so I could, be liked, feel
Right.
loved, because
Right.
all of that was taken from me. But the sad thing was, is I didn't even really know that. I didn't have a clue that I was attracting all these people in my life that didn't love me. And it wasn't until later on, until, I started really getting into personal development and all of that. But my awakening to awareness of in August of 2019 was when I realized, oh my gosh, I understand why all of these things played out in my life because I actually attracted it. So when I was in my teenage years, I had like chronic depression, like really, really bad. Like my
Yeah.
grade 12 year, I literally couldn't even get out of bed. I was tired all the time. I just thought I was extremely lazy and that I was really detached from the world because all I could see was darkness. And there was several times where I had considered suicide for sure. That was, the beginning stages of it as well. And I looked for love in the wrong places. I'll be honest with you.
Of
Like
course.
I grade 12, I slept around.
Mhm.
And because I would just wanted to be loved, I made quite the reputation for myself. I'm not proud of that, but at the same time, I'm going to be open and honest with my story because there are
Yeah,
thousands and thousands of people out there that are going through the exact same thing that I went through. And I
exactly.
just look at the teenagers now
Yeah,
as well, too, living in homes like that, and it's not the teenagers' fault. It's the environment that they are brought up in. And then, so in my 20s, things just continued to evolve from that, because I didn't love myself, which I didn't know back then that I
yeah,
didn't love myself.
yeah. How could you?
I was attracting all of these individuals in my life that hurt me. And I
Mhm.
was accepting that because of the lack of self-worth that I had within myself. So how could I attract anybody into my life that loved me if I didn't even love myself?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what the sad thing was. So I attracted like narcissists into my life,
yeah. Just kept
people
that
that
cycle
used me.
repeating.
I just kept that cycle repeating over and over and over. And, eventually what happened was I followed the exact same footsteps as my brother. I became an alcoholic. I became extremely verbally abusive to the people that I loved. I did not become physically abusive though, but I
Mhm.
could have easily taken that path. I did. My brother has been in and out of jail. I don't know why he's not in jail right now, but I was institutionalized like he was. He was institutionalized in a jail. I ended up being institutionalized in a treatment center
Yeah.
because I got so bad with my drinking. I was a full-fledged alcoholic. I was drinking up to 6 bottles of wine a day. I couldn't even
Wow.
get out of bed, and I would start drinking literally at 6 in the morning. I would get up, I would have my first glass of wine, and and then I would get the kids to school. And before I even drove them to school, I had already drank a bottle of wine.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and then by the end of the day, I would be to the point where I was passed out. And I did this for months on end, but there are so many different things that had played into my addiction as well, too, because of my marriage. I had attracted a narcissist into my life, and that was the same situation. Our marriage was based on the levels of it was him, it was the business, it was his family, then it was the children, and then it was me.
Yeah.
And I always kept on thinking throughout the years, you know what?
Lowest priority.
Yeah, and I accepted that because I always thought that, you know what, when he gets the businesses built and this and that, he's going to look at me, he's finally going to see me, he's going to see me. But you know what? He never did see me.
Oh,
He
so
never
sad.
did see me,
Hmm.
you know? So now, that unfortunately we're in the process of getting a divorce. But it's it's just unbelievable, how I look at my life then and the steps to
Yeah.
where I am now. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until, I had totally quit drinking and I did have my awakening of awareness, August of 2019, where that was where it was like, holy smoke, like number one, that was the big realization that I turned into my brother and I'm the
Oh,
only one that can stop this. And
wow.
it was like, me being told all those nasty things my entire life, it was like a light bulb moment that that's not me. That's him.
Thank
He
goodness you realized that.
Yes, and
Yeah.
and I can change those beliefs. And I
Mhm.
was looking at my children and I'm like, "My gosh, like look what I have normalized for my children."
Yeah.
And this is absolutely unacceptable. So it was in that moment that I was like, "You know what? I'm going to be a good mother. I am
Mhm.
going to be a good mentor and I am going to be the best possible person that I can possibly be. And whatever I need to do, that's what I'm going to do. So I started speaking my truth is what
Yeah.
started to end up happening. And I really realized that that identity that I carried wasn't mine at
Yeah.
all.
That's
And,
powerful.
I had gone through the process of the whole treatment center and AA and all of that. And I'll be honest with you, AA does not resonate with me. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But, I knew that it was my job and it was my responsibility to take action to become the version that I wanted to be. I
Yes.
didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but you know what? I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted, and my why was so damn strong, and it's
Mhm.
still strong to this day. My why has not changed, and it's not going to change
What is your
because
why?
my why is like I was going to be a good mother, I was going to be a good mentor, and you know what? I was going to be the best version that I could possibly be. And I know now that my purpose was in my pain. And
Mhm.
I know that. And that's why I'm speaking openly about my story. And that's why
Wow.
I'm speaking openly about my journey through AA and all of that and why it didn't resonate with me. And there
Yes.
are other alternate routes. And I've got the route because I live it, breathe it. I am that route. I am the new cutting edge way
Yeah.
to look and heal because there are I basically am the new AA. And I know that. I know that. And I can,
I'm the new AA. I love that.
yeah,
That's so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah, absolutely.
So what was the bridge that got you from drinking the 6 bottles of wine per day and not being able to even hardly get out of bed and function to having this realization in 2019 that you had become your brother and that you don't want to be that way and that's not your identity? How did you go from there to there?
Well, you know what? There was I did go to treatment almost 2 years prior to that. So during that process and treatment, I learned a lot of things. I learned how I didn't like myself, lack of self-worth, the shame that I had carried. I learned then, that addiction is generational and all this, right? At that point in time, I truly believed that addiction is a disease and it can be generational and all of that. But since then, I don't believe in those, and I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you more
Yes.
regarding that.
Yes.
So I did quit drinking for 1 year exactly to the date,
Wow.
but then I
Wow.
ended up going back drinking because I had triggers and I didn't understand what triggers were and all this other stuff, right? So I
Yeah.
did drink for about another year and a half,
Okay.
but it was during that time, I was still in denial, that I wasn't, I wasn't somebody that was addicted to alcohol.
Mhm.
Um, but that was a real learning stage for me too. And I truly believe that I needed to go through that process. I needed to go back to drinking because
Okay.
because then that was all the process of what I knew I didn't like and what I did like.
Gotcha.
Right. And then, so that really did serve a purpose for me. And then when I started to go back to my old normal,
Okay.
of drinking all the time, just things being repetitious, getting up, drinking, hanging out with my old drinking buddies again. Like there were so many things that I started to, weep back into my life. And
Yeah.
then that was when I woke up and it was like, no, because I was starting to have suicidal thoughts again. And
Okay.
that, right? And it was like, no,
That woke you up.
no, I'm not going there. I am not going there. I am turning back to the way that I was. And that's not happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of strength
Uh-huh.
to
Uh-huh.
go there and then realize it and turn back.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And my big why too is the realization of I am like my brother. Like
Yeah.
I'm exactly like him. And it was like, no way.
That's the last
Like
thing you
the
wanted.
person that I ran from my entire life and I disliked,
Mhm.
I actually became. And it was because I was running so hard from him and I was comparing myself to him.
Mhm.
That's what drew the bridge closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. What you think about the most, you do
Yeah.
become. And I was thinking about him so much, how much I disliked him and how much I disliked my mother. I
Yeah.
actually became them. I became a
Wow.
shitty mother just like my mother was, And but now I can see now throughout the whole process that, I have compassion towards my brother. I have compassion towards my mom. I have compassion towards all of these people within my life that hurt me dearly
Wow.
because I can see where they came from and the process that they were in and also the vibration that they were in. They had no awareness at all. And still to this day, these people don't have that awareness at all.
Yeah. People
Yeah,
need to wake up, right? They
they
need to
do.
understand
But they have to
why.
want to.
True. The pain has to be great enough, I guess, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Hmm.
And it's also people like me that, are leading them, through this process.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't even realize that they are worthy to have a beautiful life,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
and they are worthy to have whatever they want.
Or also that it's possible to come back from where you were.
Mhm.
I would imagine that somebody that saw themselves as a horrible mother and maybe, ruined their kids' upbringing might think that it's not possible to forgive themselves and to change.
That's true. That's very true. But, we also got to look like I look at my mentor as a mother, which
Yeah.
was my mother.
Mhm.
So no wonder I wasn't a very good mother
Yeah.
because of who I was following in the footsteps.
Correct. Yeah.
It's,
We need
but
to
then
choose
when
our
I had
mentors.
that awakening to awareness, I had lived 50 years of what I didn't want,
Yeah.
what I did not want. So, I just look at that whole learning curve. And so that was huge for me. What is it that I do want? I could compare my past to how I could teach my children in the future.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that's such a beautiful thing, because I know wholeheartedly I am a good mother. I'm a damn
Mhm.
good mother.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, so now we're at the shifting point. So let's express or talk a little bit about your time in AA and why it didn't resonate with you. And then we'll shift into helping people that are in this place realize how they can get out of it.
Okay. So during my time in treatment, a lot of the treatment centers do want you to go through the 12-step program, the AA, all of that. Where my biggest issue with that is when I walked into the environment of AA, there's that scarcity that's behind it. Like if you don't follow through with this 12-step program, you are going to die.
Right.
That's huge. Like even in treatment, they drill it in you.
Fear tactic.
Yes, 8 out of 10 of you sitting right here are going to die.
Wow.
And I went to one of the top treatment centers in Canada, and that
Wow.
is drilled into you over and over and over again. And if you go to that treatment center, and when you walk into this treatment center in Nanaimo, BC, they actually have a wall right at the glass doors when you walk in, and that's dedicated to all of the individuals that got help there that have died.
That's terrible.
Yes, it is terrible.
Wow. It's like thrown in
And
your
then
face and drilled into you.
And then when they get word that someone has passed,
Mhm.
their name gets put on there.
As like a
And
reminder of what not to do.
exactly, exactly. So you're always constantly living in that fear. And then so when I would go to these AA meetings, I understand that you definitely have to talk about your journey of addiction. You have to express it, you have to get it out.
Yes.
But what the problem is when you stand up, and you know this just as well as I do, Sarah, that I am. Anything that comes behind it is so powerful
Very powerful words.
because whatever comes behind you become. So you're constantly living in that same of I am a alcoholic.
And that's something that they tell you have to say?
You have to say, "Hi, my name is Shannan Mondor and I am a," right? I don't even like to say it.
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
was addicted to alcohol. That doesn't mean that I have to live in that shame for the rest of my life.
And that
And by
doesn't mean that
standing
has to be your identity.
Exactly. So I didn't like that at all. I don't like the fact in AA as well too I'm sorry, to me it's just a big pity party because everybody just talks about their past, their time in their addiction,
Yeah.
and there is nothing in any of the rooms of AA that I've been to where they actually guide you so you can have a bigger, brighter, beautiful
Future.
life where you can actually they teach you the tools, within mindset, with affirmations, with any of that to guide you to go forward to have the best life you can possibly have and
Yes.
to find your greatness within.
Yes.
You are always brought back to your time of shame, and you are always reminded of what you did in the past.
They're
I'm
keeping you
sorry.
small.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the past is the past.
Yes.
And another thing that really drives me absolutely nuts is you are powerless. They drill it in your head that you are powerless to alcohol for the
Mhm.
rest of your life. And I'm sorry, like you look at somebody like me and all that I've accomplished
Heck yeah.
and how I speak openly about my story. And I've written a book, and I wrote my second one, and I'm writing my third one here.
Good
I'm
job.
a podcast host, and
Yeah.
I'm an international bestseller. And
Woohoo.
they're telling me that I'm powerless to
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
That
Who
is
are they
absolutely
to label
absurd.
you?
That is so absurd that I'm to carry this label for the rest of my life. No
Yes.
way. Because at any point in time, you can change your identity. And I did change my identity. I changed my identity to I am strong, I am happy, I am successful.
Heck yeah.
All of those. That is what they need to change within those AA meetings. That's
Yeah.
why somebody like me comes in and I teach you. I teach you all of these tools that I use on a daily basis. And you can live your life without alcohol easily and freely and be totally unattached to any of that because you do not have to carry that identity ever, ever.
You just lifted like the you just lifted somebody out of the depths of despair, you
Exactly.
know?
And like how many people um will not go forward and get sober because they are afraid. I'm sorry, they are afraid that they are going to be labeled. That
Yeah.
scares them more than anything else. For
That's
them to
true.
actually have to admit
That's
that
true.
people are going to label me as an alcoholic.
Right. Right. That probably prevents them, like you say, from even
It
getting
does.
help.
It does.
That's
And
so sad.
even the shame of walking into a room like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and to admitting that, yeah, but you can do that one-on-one with somebody like me. And I'm not going to label you as an alcoholic. I am going to say you are addicted to alcohol. But you know what? Not for long.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've got a bright, beautiful future ahead of you, and I'm going to help you get there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's just so powerful. And I mean, I know this topic is on alcohol, but as you were talking, I was thinking it needs to be, people need to be helped on every sort
Well,
of
this is
level with
every
this.
level. Yep.
Every level. Like I'm
Yep.
thinking back to I used to really struggle with my weight. And I remember doing a program where they do the similar tactic where they tell you that you have to take on the identity that you are addicted to food.
That's
Or,
absurd.
no. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. I use alcohol as my way of expressing so people can understand my journey.
Right.
But like I have gone through so much. Like
Yeah.
when I was at my lowest point in my life,
Yeah.
I was 188 pounds and I've shed 70 pounds since then.
Well,
I've lost
congratulations.
a baby. I have had financial ruins.
Wow.
There are so many things in
Aspect.
my life that I have experienced. And so, like I said, people can relate to AA and people can relate to the alcohol.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is for every area of your life. And I have experienced that.
Yeah.
Once you find out who I am and you read my book and there's you're going to know what my story is. And when you read my book, How in the Hell Did I Get Here?
Yeah.
Forever Changing the Genetic Blueprint on Addiction and Abuse, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, because it's not all about addiction. There are so many things, we've all had that mother in law that we didn't get along with, or
Yeah.
there's that sister in law, or, we've all been abused or something in some way. We've all been hurt.
Mhm.
There's so many different scenarios in that book that people can really relate to. And that's what people are coming back to me and they're like, oh my gosh, like your book is so relatable. I don't know how many instances you know, people have said like when I read your book, it was almost like I was reading about myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
because addiction, yeah, addiction is my big story,
Mhm.
but there's so many chapters in it which is relatable to so many other people, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Even like how you have come back from being considered a poor mother to now a great mother.
Mhm,
and rebuilding those relationships with your children
mhm.
and, changing the generational dynamic of,
Yeah,
your kids now potentially having kids of their own. That's huge as well. And so, yeah, like you said, you've lived it. You could speak to the financial aspect of having been poor to doing well. I mean, on and on. So, what an amazing resource you are.
thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
Tell us again the title of your books. You said you had more than one.
Okay, so my one that is published and is an international bestseller. I actually go to Phoenix November 2nd to receive the award. It's red carpet, all of it. I can't wait
Congratulations.
because I get to wear a beautiful gown and all of that. So that
Yeah.
one is called "How in the Hell Did I Get Here?" Forever changing the genetic blueprint on addiction and abuse. And that one is my whole entire story. The
Okay.
first part of it is my whole entire story, and then the second part is how I healed and the whole
Mhm.
process of forgiveness and how I, really looked at others that really hurt me with compassion, and I could really relate to who they were and all of that, right? So that's what that one is. I've got my second book, which is all written, but it's not published yet. So I don't want to say the name of that
Oh,
one yet
got you.
because
Okay.
that one, the title could change. And
Okay.
then I am working on my third one as well too, which is the starting process of it, which is going to be a collaboration. And that one I'm going to have 14 other authors, which are going to
Ooh.
be telling their stories of where they were to where they are now. And it's all about success stories to
Mm,
give others out there that are afraid and for them to know that you are not the only one. Because, oh my gosh, I have been in the darkest depths and just, like
yeah.
I said, those times where I did think of suicide and it's like, God, I don't know what to do and all of
Yeah.
that, right? And this is a way of, letting these people know that you are not the only one. There are thousands and thousands of us out there
Yeah.
that, have experienced this, and these are the tools that we used, and you know what, maybe we can help you. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So for the person that's maybe in the depths of despair with depression and maybe considering suicide, they need relief like yesterday. How quickly can they get help from you?
So that to me is a touchy subject because I'm not a therapist.
Okay.
And I'll let everybody know I am not a therapist at all and in any way.
Okay.
And when I talk and when I give advice, it is literally just from my experiences.
Okay. That makes sense.
And every individual is different.
Hmm.
If someone was to come to me and say that they are extremely suicidal, I wouldn't feel comfortable giving them advice except for them to go seek medical treatment.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because heaven forbid, if anything happened to them,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be able to forgive myself.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
So
so
let's,
when I help people,
yeah.
right? Especially people, that are, have an addiction to alcohol,
Yeah.
and that they already have to be in recovery because I
Oh,
cannot help anybody stop drinking. That is something that you have to literally do on your own. And you
oh,
have to figure out your why so strong. I
right.
had to go through that process. And the reason I'm gonna give you a little example of that. So when I first went to treatment, I really did think that I was ready. I did.
Hmm.
But once I got into treatment and really things started to unravel and I started to realize how much resentment I had towards all these individuals in my life
Hmm.
and that, right? And then when I came out and I I was in my bubble for that year where I didn't drink, that was when I started to realize, like, wow. I would say it was about 70% that I did go to treatment for myself. And if it was 100%, I wouldn't have started drinking again.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So there was that 30% that led me back to drinking.
Got it.
But when I had my awakening to awareness, you know, that was when I figured out my why.
Hmm.
Because that year that I quit drinking, I didn't have a why yet. My why was you know, the other people, it was about the others. It
Yes.
wasn't about me.
Got it, got it. So
Does that make
so
sense?
you can help people when they are when they've stopped drinking and they are truly, truly ready for a change.
If they are truly, truly ready for a change. And sometimes at that point in time, with whatever, whether it's their finances or whatever, or, they're in recovery or you know, they, they, they've basically had their how in the hell did I get here moment. They're like,
Right.
and that's why I wrote
There
that.
you
That's
go.
why I titled that book, because
That makes sense.
that day of awakening for me was like, how in the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, what? What led me up to this point in time? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not getting it. And you know what? I got to figure this out.
Mhm.
And then that was when I could see everything. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then you have to have that moment. And a lot of times your why is not going to be strong enough at that point in time. Mine was very strong. And I was very lucky because that's what pushed me forward. But you can still come to me when you've had that how in the hell did I get here moment and not necessarily know your why, because through the process that I take you through and the program and all of that, you're going to figure out your why.
Good.
And
That was my next question. Will you help people
because
get
you're
there?
you're because I help you create, what do you want in life?
Okay.
What do you want in life?
Yeah.
And then why do you want that in your life? Why is that so strong for you? And then from there, all the magic starts to happen.
I love it. So to give somebody some hope,
Mhm.
how long does it typically take for somebody to um, start seeing the changes in their life, in their external world and internal world?
I can't give anybody that definite answer, because however hard you work
There you go.
is what the time frame is going to be.
Yeah. Good
Because
point.
I wanted things to happen so badly.
Yeah.
My shifts were almost immediate,
Wow.
like immediate.
Wow.
So I'm going to give you an example. So I wrote a book. I started my podcast. I did a TED talk.
Wow.
Yep, yep. I also did a TED talk in Las Vegas. And what else did I do? Like, I just shifted almost immediately. What I did in 1 year, most people don't even do in 10 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. But that was because I wanted it so bad. So it
Yeah.
really depends on the inner work that you do,
Okay.
and taking that inspired action to do it. And that, like, I'm always moving forward, like I'll get an intuitive hit and it's like, let's do it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing scares me anymore either. And if
Wow.
something does, it's like, okay, I got to do it then, right?
Good
Because
for
it's
you. You're on
during that
fire.
fear. Yeah, because it's during that fear I know is where all my learning process is.
Yeah.
And within that learning process, whatever I experience, that's what I help to teach others,
Okay. So
because I found my life purpose, right? Yeah,
yes, yes. Please, when we're done, send me the link to your TED Talk and anything that we can send people to so that they can
absolutely.
watch what you
Yeah,
put out there.
yeah.
Because it's just so inspiring. Like you said, what you accomplished in 1 year. Remind me, in case I missed it, how did you pull yourself out of this? So you were going to AA and you were not resonating with that stuff. How did you get from there to super empowered within a year? Did you take a course that
No,
helped
you know
you?
what? That was a process. I've been in personal development for at least 25 years.
Okay.
And back in the day, like, my big mentors were Dr. Wayne Dyer, Deepak
Yeah.
Chopra, Louise Hay,
Yeah.
Debbie Ford, all of them, right? And I've read all of their books and watched them on YouTube and whatever. And let me tell you, manifesting and all of that worked absolutely wonderful when you're in a higher vibration, right? And I've always been a quick manifester, right? Um, but that was because, that was when I was had in my times of happiness. But what I didn't realize until I had my awakening to awareness is where you need mindset and personal development the absolute most is when you're at your lowest point.
So true.
And a lot of
Yes.
people don't realize that. And I didn't
Mhm.
realize that.
Yeah.
That is when you need it the absolute most. And I can't stress that
Yeah.
enough to people. And, your darkest depths of, oh, you've got nothing left in your bank account. all of that. That's when you need it. And so I was at my wit's end then, right? And then it was like, I didn't like AA. I didn't, you know what I mean? And it was like, okay. So then I started reading the books again and going onto YouTube. And then I started going through that process,
Okay.
right? And then I started to feel better, just all of it. It's a journey. And then what ended up happening is, I ended up taking, a couple courses through with Bob Proctor, and
Okay.
then I was led to other mentors and that as well, and then you are who you attract, and the
Yeah.
more I started to feel better, and vibrationally I started to rise,
Yeah.
and that too, right? All these beautiful opportunities started to come into my life, but at that same time too, the realizations people are in your life for a reason, a
Yeah.
season, and a lifetime. With my case, I haven't met anybody yet that's in my life for a lifetime,
Mm.
because I only look at two reasons why people are in my life. One, and that's why I really stay present with individuals when I'm talking one-on-one with them, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I said this to you or not, Sarah, when we had our conversation, but when someone approaches me, I'll really pay attention to why is that person here?
Mm.
And it's either I'm going to learn something from them
Mhm.
that's going to take me to my next level that I need to get to vibrationally, or they are coming to me because I'm going to get them to their next level of vibration.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
Right. So I'm really in presence with that. Right. Yeah. So, and also realizing too that in order to advance vibrationally in life and be the best version of myself, I have to let of those individuals that don't resonate,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't resonate with me or whatever. And you know what? That's okay. Praise and release. Then that energy is gone. And then you know what? New energy comes in by all these beautiful people. Right. And
Totally.
now I can honestly say there's only 4 individuals left in my life.
Yeah.
And those are my children from my past,
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's a-okay. Because what has been brought forth to me is absolutely all these beautiful people that I have now in my life. And
Yeah.
they do truly love me and appreciate me. They don't judge
Yep.
me. I don't judge them. Now you've come into my circle now as
Yeah.
well, Sarah. And you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
love you. And I love
Yeah.
how same thing that I didn't feel judged when I was at that event and met you. And yeah. And just for people that maybe don't understand the lingo like low vibe, high vibe, I just want to clarify that. The way I look at it is there's like a spiral of emotions that we can be feeling. And up high are the love, the gratitude, the appreciation, having goodwill towards others, being generous, being kind, all these beautiful qualities that make you feel good. And then when you get down here, down to the lower ones, they're like shame and guilt and caring what other people think and anger and resentment and bitterness. And so that's what we're talking about. High vibe thoughts and energy, and low vibe that drag you down. And so, like she was saying, just send love to people that are low vibe, but don't stay in that energy
No,
because
no.
their energy will just suck you down and you don't want to live there because that's what you attract more of.
See, and I want to speak a little bit more on the low vibe. So all of us are born into some sort of vibration.
Yeah.
All of us, no matter what, because we are vibrational beings in a vibrational world.
Hmm.
And this is what I also teach within my program. So people that do have an addiction or whatever, they can actually see it for themselves. Is I was born into an extreme low vibration. And in that was fear, anxiety, depression. What does that bring? That brings crime. That brings addiction. That brings sexual abuse. That brings all of it with it. So
Right.
that's why all of those things were happening through me throughout my life. And if you can actually see that and understand that,
Hmm.
then you can see how your path actually laid out. And yes, there are all of those things that happened to me when I was little. I get that. And I couldn't do anything about it,
Hmm.
which is very sad. But there gets to be a point in your life that you have to start taking responsibility for your life. And that's exactly what I did. I started to take responsibility for my life. I quit, feeling sorry for myself. I quit blaming others. I stopped being in denial. I started taking action, and that's where people with an addiction, they get stuck. They
Hmm.
get stuck in that. And that's where you have to really look at all of it. And it's like, wow, it's my turn to take responsibility. You have to get past that bridge in order to see that. And that's literally in every scenario of your life.
Yeah, that's very
Because
true.
once you take responsibility, then you can start to take control of it, right?
Yeah,
Then you can see where you're lacking in those areas where you need to work on. And I've done it all.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
sounds
great.
like it.
Love my life. Yeah.
That's amazing. If it's not too personal of a question, I am curious, have you been able to repair your relationships with your 4 kids?
Yes. It was difficult. You know what? It is a journey with my oldest one, because
Okay.
she's seen the most awareness of me and my addiction. She's 20. She's 25 now, and she sees how much I've changed, and you know
Yeah,
what I mean. She's very proud of me, and
good.
but being a mother too, some days she'll be upset at me or whatever, and then there'll be a little bit of an insecurity within me. It'll be like, oh my god, this is because of what I did, when I was in
Yeah,
my addiction or whatever. But that's just the chirping in me, right? And it's like,
sure.
no, she sees me progress. Everybody sees me progress. Like, how could you not?
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
but now what it is too is I've created my new normal, right? And, they're seeing their mother who's all over social media. They're seeing their mother who is like on stage in Las Vegas,
that's
you
so
know,
cool.
talking, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
now they're like, what is she going to do next? Like, what's
yeah,
coming next with her or
yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah,
There's lots of changes that's happening with them because whatever my new normal is becomes their norm.
correct.
Like
Yeah,
we're flying lots and going on holidays and things are
good.
becoming more extravagant for us. But I want them to see that you can literally have whatever you want and there are no limits. And whatever you dream, it can become your reality. And that's what I want them to know, that everybody is a success story, but
Yeah,
you have to create that for yourself.
that's so cool. I'm also glad that that I had you on and that you mentioned what you just did because I think a lot of people, the people that don't maybe like the idea of law of attraction and people that are like, shunning it, they might do so because they think it's all about people wanting to get rich, bigger house, nicer car. But no, you just gave us almost an hour now of how it changes your life. It's fundamental. It changes your family. It changes your relationship with yourself. It changes your hope for the future. It's not just about materialism.
See, and what I want people to really understand too is with my program, when I talk about abundance and when I talk about wealth for me could be health.
Yeah.
Wealth for somebody else could have these beautiful relationships.
Yes.
Wealth does not necessarily mean money. Yeah, there are coaches out there that, just specifically talk about money and that, but you know what? Good for them,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. But there are so many forms of wealth, and that's what people really need to understand.
Yeah.
But another thing that I want to mention too is when I look at creating abundance in my life in the monetary aspect, that opens up so many doors of opportunity for
Yeah.
me to be able to fly to go to these different networking events, which can be quite expensive. For me to be in the presence of individuals that are highly elevated people where I'm going to be learning from them.
Yeah.
That's where I want my monetary wealth. It's to create something more that I can learn from so I can help others out there.
Exactly.
That's my sole purpose. And everybody likes beautiful things. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
No.
that's what people really need to understand. There is nothing wrong with having beautiful things. And if you are looking at individuals that are wealthy, all I can say is you should be so darn proud that they are wealthy and that they're doing well. Because if you are jealous in any way, that's stopping the flow of abundance coming to you.
It's very true. Yeah, yeah.
You
And
should be happy. I get excited for people like, "Oh my god, like, good for you. You got a new car. Oh, that's amazing." You
exactly.
know? Like,
They got it, that means you can get it too, right?
oh,
It's
absolutely, because
going it's going
yeah,
around.
jealousy is the biggest form of you having lack upon yourself, and
Yeah.
that's stopping it come to you almost immediately.
Yes.
And that's why it's like, no way. When I hear, great things about how much somebody makes or whatever, I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, because I know that I have that equal opportunity, because we
Right.
all started out the same. We all started out the same. And it who took the inspired action and who didn't? Well, I'm telling you, I'm taking the inspired action, and whatever you did, I want to follow in your footsteps.
Exactly. And
That's
then
why, yeah, I
exactly. I'm sorry, please go ahead.
That's why, for me, I want to be in rooms where, I'm going to be, I'm going to learn something. And that's so important. Like, if you want to be a millionaire, you don't hang out with broke people. You
True,
just don't,
true, true.
because what are you going to learn from them? How to
Yeah,
be broke, right?
right.
You're going to hear the bitching and the complaining, and I can't have this. And,
Victimizing.
look at
Yeah.
what so and so has. And, who do they think they are? you know
Yeah.
but if you want to be a millionaire, you go into rooms where millionaires are,
Yeah.
because you start to pick up on what they did and how they did it, and who they're hanging out with and what next event they're going to. And you're going to hear all their beautiful, amazing stories, and that's going to
Yeah.
inspire you,
Yes.
inspire you to become better, to want more, to see that there's nothing wrong with it, and to know that you are totally, absolutely worthy of it. That's
I
what's
love
beautiful.
that.
Mhm.
Woohoo. Well said, well said. And like you were mentioning the thought process of broke people, a lot of times you hear broke people think that rich people are arrogant and have all these negative qualities. Now, riches will amplify who you are at your core. And I'm
Yep.
sure there are some rich people that are crappy people, but it doesn't mean that everybody that is rich is that way. Like with you, the more riches you have, the more you're going to be able to write more books and coach more people and be generous with those riches to help more and more people.
Absolutely. And anybody, like, I'm walking into rooms now where there's millionaires and billionaires. And the rooms that I've walked into, like, even with our inner circle and different things like that, like, these are the most loving
I
and
agree.
generous people you will ever meet.
Yeah, and
Like,
non-judgmental.
oh my goodness, absolutely. Because I
Yeah,
am who I attract.
yeah.
I am. And so I'm a pretty damn good person, I got to say.
I love that. I love that. Exactly, exactly. No, that's exactly the same experience that I had as well. Like these are really, really good people. And they check themselves. They're aware of their thoughts. They don't, even if they started to maybe find themselves judging another person in the room, they check themselves and get rid of it because they don't want that kind of low vibe energy.
Yeah, everything stems from awareness. Like,
Yes.
everything. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love it.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's so true. Like, I'll be driving along, and, you know, then negative Nelly thought will come into my mind, and then I'll be like, stop thinking that,
Yeah.
because I am automatically bringing this into my life. No, stop thinking about it. And then I'll think about something else, right?
Yes.
Which is great and fantastic. And then I'm
Yeah.
back on my way again, singing on my, in my car. And, it's all,
Yeah.
but we're human. We're human. We got to be checking into ourselves. And I'm not talking a couple times a day. I'm checking in with myself hundreds of times a day. You know what
Right.
I mean? Because
It's
that's just
constant
who I
weeding
am. That's
out
who
the negative,
Yeah, and we're
replacing
we're
it with
human.
a
We're a work in progress, and that's never going to change. We're always going to grow. We're always going to elevate.
yeah.
That's your choice, though. That's
Yes.
your choice.
You are empowered. And back to the AA, you're not a title.
No,
And if anything, you can say am, these powerful things. I am health, I am wealth, I am,
absolutely,
generous, I am a beautiful person, I am on and on. So if you're going to label yourself, choose wisely.
exactly. And yeah, life's beautiful.
That's so great. No, thank you so, so much. So one last question I want to know for how can people join your program? And what is your
Okay,
program like? Like, yeah, is it virtual
Well,
or
I've
what is
actually got 4 programs.
Okay.
I've got 4 programs, and so what you can do to find out the pricing and all of that of my programs is you can go onto my website, and it's www.shannankym.com. Um, and all of that will be in the notes.
Yeah.
You can and everything is there. You can follow me on social media, which is, Shannan Kym on all of it. But even my website directs you to everything, right? Everything is there. Everything is going to be in the show notes. You can follow me on my podcast, Fulfillment in Faith.
I
And
love
that's where I interview people literally from all over the world that talk about their stories of where they are to where they are now. Just success stories. There's so many different stories, and it's not just about addiction. Anything from, losing your child, individuals that have lost
Yeah.
their child, and, how
Yeah.
just there's sex trafficking and just so many different things. But now I'm being called. I just feel it strongly. I'm going to actually be doing a solo podcast very soon because it's really time for me to start teaching, my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and how I look at life and view life and my perspective, all of
Yeah.
the different things that I've gone through, just all of it. And I'm
You have a
I'm
lot to
so
share.
excited because I'm ready to explode. It's time. It's time for me to really
That's
start,
so cool.
sending my message out there in the form of my podcast as well. Yeah.
Man, I cannot wait. I'm gonna go subscribe right now. I can't wait to hear just all of the wisdom. Like you said, you have freeness of speech because you have lived almost every aspect that a person
Oh
could
yeah.
experience.
Yeah. And yeah, like it's and there's constant talk chatter, like I'll be vacuuming or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like I just finished writing, a script of myself, because I do reels and everything is
Mhm.
my why being
Yeah.
so strong
Yeah.
and why your why should be so strong, so when you follow me on social media, like when I do the reels and that, like literally I'm just doing something in my house and then something will click in and it'll be like, okay,
Just hits you with a moment of
I got
inspiration.
to do a reel. But that's also because I am open to receive from the universe. So that's where the how comes in,
Yeah.
because I am being guided. No matter
Yeah.
what, I got a question, I'll throw it out to the universe or God or whatever you want to call it. And you know what? I'll get an answer. Like almost immediately or whatever, or I'll get woken up 4 in the morning like I did the other day because I had a
Yeah.
question and I'm like, okay, you didn't really have to wake me up at 4 in the morning, but I get it. Right? And then I have a conversation with myself and then I go
Yeah.
back to, but yeah, that's how it works.
Man, this has been so great, Shannon. Thank you
Thank you for
so
having
incredibly
me.
much. Oh my
Thank you for
gosh.
having me.
What a joy. What a powerful story. Thank you for giving us all the ways that we can connect with you after this. And is there any last words or any question that I didn't ask that you wanted to share?
Absolutely not. But there's one thing I do want to say, and my business is called Fulfillment in Faith. And I was always against tattoos. And I believe in fulfillment and faith so strongly in every aspect of life that I actually got a tattoo
What?
on me that says fulfillment and faith.
Good
And
job.
I
That's
truly
awesome.
believe that if you have faith in yourself, like I
Mhm.
mean true faith within yourself,
Yeah.
you will have fulfillment in absolutely every area of your life. And I am living proof. I truly am. And
Mhm.
it's the most beautiful thing. And I want that for you. I want that for every single person out there.
Yes. Powerful closing statement. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great one.